So when Bellmark Records started to release songs like Daisy Dukes, he could make it a hit, and he did. Now for me, personally, as an artist who was working in 90, 91, 92, I didn't know what to make of Daisy Dukes. Was it fun? Sure. Did it have some areas of interest? Undoubtedly. Did it have edits and turntablism and SP1200 tricks? Not at all. Not a bit. So my agenda with the music was gone. But it's not my music, it's our music. And if it worked, it worked. And it was a bona fide hit. But you have to ask yourself why. Al Bell was a promotions man. He knew how to get radio play. He knew how to establish a record. And Daisy Dukes was established in a way that Cut It Up Def and Danny D and Cooley C and all these others that came before him didn't have the luxury of. That wasn't there. Now, what we're starting to illustrate is that South Florida was no longer in charge. That Miami-based music was suddenly no longer a product of Miami. Sir Mix-a-Lot was from Seattle. Bellmark Records was out of Augusta. Even Kenneth Terry technically was from Atlanta, but still representing Miami on some level. So we can say that you start to see a shift. And December 23rd, 1992. This is the date that the lawsuit, MC Shy D versus Luke, the verdict came in. Now the judge was a former musician, so he took issue with the idea that a record label would rip off an artist. How dare you, in the eyes of a former musician? So the verdict was stacked and weighted, and ultimately came down to something pretty massive. Well over $1 million was awarded to MC Shy D for this, and this put Luke in a bind. Luke Records was put into a situation. Luke Records was valued at $13 million according to the Miami New Times. So $1 million, would that be an issue? Would it not? Well, there were a lot of extensions. He was extended beyond his resources, so it became an issue. And Luke's lawyer at the time, Joe Weinberger, Lil Joe, bailed him out. He gave Luke a fair amount of money to pay off MC Shy D. According to MC Shy D, at the end of the day, he walked away with $500,000 of that. Luke went into bankruptcy. And now we no longer have our flagship label working at Optimal Resources. So we now have an issue. Fresh Kid Ice was the lone man to remain by Luke's side. And Luke had to restructure and refigure things out. Brother Marquise and Mr. Mix settled out of court. And Fresh Kid Ice had an album produced by the name of The Chinamen. The Chinamen didn't receive any marketing. It was just thrown into the distribution and didn't really go anywhere. Fresh Kid Ice, Chris, has said, I just want to make peace. And you have to honor that, but at the same time, you have to wonder what his outcome would have been otherwise. Luke reformed Two Live Crew into the new Two Live Crew with rapper Verb and Fresh Kid Ice and Luke as the hype man, or to quote Luke, the hook man. But they didn't really make too much of an impact. It was pretty minimal. Brother Marquise actually teamed up with DJ Toomp in Atlanta, and the two of them became Too Nasty, and they took their product to Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville, Florida was home of Attitude Records. Now, Attitude may be forgettable to a lot of people, but Jeff Cohen, who owned Attitude Records, ran Dolphin Distribution. Dolphin Distribution was a fantastic distributor. You found product from Dolphin Distributions everywhere. It wasn't hard to find what they did. However, learning about it was a whole other factor, because marketing is a different game than distribution.